Welcome in to First Pitch Tuesday, April 6th slate. We've got four games we're breaking down on today's card and best bets at the end, plus a little special here, Asian League Baseball coming right before best bets. But first, let's introduce the panel. We got Steve Merrill and Dave Koken from WagerTalk.com. Guys, Dave, welcome in. Happy Tuesday morning to you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. $2 Tuesday at Wager Talk, and I happen to be the $2 featured handicapper. Off to a very good start in baseball, and if you want to get my best bet today, it's only $2. So let's go with that, and hopefully root it home.
Absolutely. Dave has been killing it in baseball for multiple years now and off to a hot start this season. So you can get his best bet, wagertalk.com, guys, for just $2. Check it out at the website right now. And Steve Merrill as well, joining us from a remote location, but still bringing the goods on today's slate for the four games we're breaking down. Welcome in, Steve. How you feeling today?
Feeling good. Trying to find that Baylor bandwagon. I'm searching the country right now because I sure as hell missed out on the Final Four in the Baylor bandwagon. It was a great college basketball season, not a good Final Four, but overall a great season. And by the way, that was a fast start to basketball. Guess what? I'm doing it now in baseball. 3-1, 75% start on best bets, including another winner, 7-0 run line winner with the Yankees last night. Also gave out a free play last week here on the show on Friday with Dave. So 4-1. On free plays and best bets so far this young baseball season. We will have another one, of course, at the end of the show. But more importantly, a strong best bet on WagerTalk.com right now for Tuesday, NBA as well.
Yeah, check them out, wagertalk.com for the best bet there. Guys, we got four games we're breaking down. Going to start off here in the East Coast, the NL East, actually, for the ESPN 7 o'clock Eastern game, prime time here, 65 degrees, looks like light wind in Philadelphia. We got the New York Mets at the Philadelphia Phillies here. Marcus Stroman going for the Mets, and it looks like Anderson going for the Phillies, so two righties going after it. Minus 140, I'm seeing minus 145 for the Mets as the road favorite. Total of 9 here, Dave. You interested in getting involved with the Mets and Phillies nationally televised game tonight?
No, I'm going to take a wait and see attitude of Marcus Stroman. He hasn't pitched an inning of real Major League Baseball in a long time because he didn't pitch at all last year. So he should be excited about getting back on the mound, no question about that. Chase Anderson, not a guy I have a lot of faith in. To put it mildly, he's strictly a back of the rotation guy. The Phillies look like they've got three good starters with Nola at the top of the list, Wheeler right there, and Zach Eflin, who really came on down the stretch last year, looking like he's arrived. The fourth and fifth spots in that rotation are not good, and that's where the Phillies could get into some trouble. But look, they're out of the gate in great fashion. Don't really like the idea of running into a team that's hot right now. So I would lean Mets because I do think they've got the advantage with Stroman. Maybe a lean first five, but at minus 135 for the first five, even that is not particularly appealing. So that's all it is. It's just an opinion on the Mets.
Okay. And Steve, what are you thinking here? I mean, NL East battle, these two teams could be going at it, all season long towards the top of the division anyway. You thinking about putting anything down on the nationally televised game tonight?
Well, like Dave said, I'm not ready to fade a team that's an underdog off to a 4-0 start at home. And it's not like that was a weak home opener. They played the Atlanta Braves, the favorite and the defending NL East champs, and swept them 3-0, outscored them 9-3 in those games, came right back, beat the Mets last night. And let's keep in mind, that was the Mets' first game of the season. Everybody else had played 3 or 4 games. The Mets finally got to play one. So some uncertainty there. I will say this, so the Mets came out of the gate pretty strong offensively last night. 10 hits, and they left 10 runners on base. It barely went over by half a run, went over the 7.5, 5-3 final, but it should have probably been higher scoring. So I think the safest play might be the over here. If that Mets offense shows up, if Stroman is maybe a little bit dicey, and obviously with Anderson on the mound, it is dicey. That's why they're a home dog despite being 4-0. So I think the over here, 8.5, 9, shop around 9 is a very key number. But if we could see an 8.5 again at some point, I think the over does have some value.
And Steve, I got a quick handicapping question for you because we're talking about Stroman here, a former first rounder, 2012 from Duke University, and he didn't pitch last year like both of you talked about. But in the spring, he did have 17 strikeouts and only 2 walks in 18 innings pitched. So really good spring numbers, strong here. Do you bring that into a big part of your handicap here? At the start of MLB season, their spring stats?
Yes, that's about the only thing, Drew, I actually look at with spring ball is the pitchers, the starting pitchers, because that's kind of the one thing I think somewhat transfers over to the regular season. And now I do like to see a guy that was strong like that, but more so what I look for is really the opposite. I like to look for guys that maybe struggled, because I don't think you just flip a switch all of a sudden, in tougher competition, regular season games, and then fix problems. So yes, Stroman looks strong, but then again, you might have been facing some minor leaguers. I didn't go through the at-bats and see who he was facing with that 17-2 ratio. But when you struggle in the spring, I think it's more of a handicapping factor, because a lot of times that is coming against backups and you're still struggling. Then I think it's a real red flag. But, not a bad thing that Stroman pitched well, but I don't want to read too much into that because it was exhibition games against some guys that probably aren't in the lineups now.
Yeah, I'll weigh in on it. I really think it depends on what the pitcher was trying to accomplish in spring training, because a lot of times especially with veterans, you'll see them, they're just working on their pitches. They couldn't care less what the results are. And so I have a tendency to put a little more weight on younger guys than veterans. I think what veterans do in exhibition season is next to meaningless. They just want to be ready for the opening bell. I want to mention something, by the way, and I said I would explain this on Twitter today. I said on Twitter that I would explain this today, which is part of the reason I'm going with mostly first fives. Now, obviously, I've talked about how bad bullpens are. Why are bullpens so bad? And I know I've said this in the past, but we'll use this as a refresher course for the spring of 2021. Bullpens are comprised mostly of failed starting pitchers. Very few pitchers get drafted to be relief pitchers. They're almost all drafted to be starting pitchers. The guys who end up in the bullpens are guys who basically can't make it as starting pitchers. Even the best reliever of all time, Mariano Rivera, was a failed starting pitcher because he was basically a one, maximum two-pitch guy, and those guys don't really do well as starting pitchers. So what we have now is a situation where starting pitching is being downgraded each year because they just won't let them go third time through the lineup unless it's one of the top two guys in the rotation. You're getting more and more innings out of bullpens, and therefore you're getting more and more innings out of guys who, quite frankly, aren't that good. They're guys who are in the bullpen because they couldn't make it as starting pitchers. So to me, this is something that's really big in handicapping, and it's why I've lost one game so far. It was the only full game I played last night of the Astros. I'd have won it if I'd have been playing at first five like I should have, but I'm an idiot. And it's why most of my plays now are first five, because I am starting pitcher centric, and I want to leave the bullpens out as much as possible. They are just almost an unhandicappable factor in baseball right now. Even when you've got what seems like an advantage because of bullpen usage, it still doesn't work out that way half the time. So my recommendation to people, if you're playing sides, look for the first five. If you're playing unders, definitely look for the first five. If you're playing overs, that's why you want to look at full game, because you're likely to get some late scoring, even with supposedly good bullpens. And that's the explanation.
I like it, Dave. Good stuff. Thanks for explaining that. I did see your tweet there. And it makes total sense in terms of staying away from the bullpens. And in talking about this New York Mets, Philadelphia Phillies game, guys, tonight on ESPN, bullpen usage, Alvarado went back-to-back nights for the Phillies. Boynton Kinsler also pitched yesterday. So there might be a little bit of an advantage here towards the Mets in the later innings. Plus the fact Stroman against the Phillies lineup, under a 700 team OPS for the Phillies and 134 at bats. Now, granted, he didn't pitch last year against them, whereas Anderson against the Mets lineup, over a 930 team OPS against him and 67 at bats. That's what had me looking towards the Mets, and we have seen kind of movement here down to minus 125 is the Mets as the $1.25 favorites here. That's the side I lean to, at least in the nationally televised game, guys. We got 3 more games we're breaking down before best bets. Next game up, heading out west, NL West action. We got the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Colorado Rockies. Luke Weaver going for the D-backs, German Marquez for the Rockies. We're seeing the Rocks minus 140 favorites, a mile high. Looks like 10.5 being the total here. Steve, you interested in getting involved tonight? A mile high here. We got the D-backs and Rocks going at it.
Yeah, Drew, 2 ways to look at this game. I mean, first of all, you have a team that both Dave and I agreed on in the NL preview show a couple weeks ago here on Wager Talk TV. The Rockies, who should be one of the worst teams in the league. The odds makers had them, I believe, at 62.5 wins. That was only ahead of the Pirates, who are 59.5. Yet they're favored here, as you mentioned. So two ways to look at this. You don't want to be laying juice with one of the worst teams in the league, yet even the worst teams win 62 out of 162 games according to the season win total. So this is one of those winnable games probably for the Rockies, especially since they just played a tough home series against the Dodgers. They got Kershaw in that first game. I came right back here on the show last Friday. I used the Dodgers as my best bet minus the 1.5 run line. They won 11-6. They outscored Colorado 21-13 in those next three games after losing. So I would lean towards Arizona, but it's not a strong play for me either way. One thing I will say about the Diamondbacks, they also are coming off a tough series against San Diego, who's not only the second favorite in this division behind the Dodgers, but the second favorite overall in all of baseball to win the World Series this year. So both teams are taking a big step down in class. I just like the fact that Arizona did get a win in that last game on Sunday, had a day off to travel. And keep in mind also, these are divisional teams. They're very familiar with Coors Field, more so than other teams. And Arizona, after Coors Field, plays in the second highest ballpark scoring-wise in the NL. So their lineup is situated to play in a high-scoring park like Colorado. Now, Weaver did have a rough outing out there last time out, but he pitched well the one time before that. So I think that's kind of a small sample size. I'm not going to read too much into that. And the bullpen relievers, whatnot, they're familiar with it. So I would lean Arizona here. I think Dave probably likes the side a little bit more than I do in this one. But it really would just be not going to lay juice with a team like Colorado, who's one of the worst teams in the league.
Okay, Steve, good stuff. And Dave, we've seen a little bit of movement here towards the D-backs. Colorado down to as low as minus 123 I'm seeing on the Wager Talk odds screen right now. To tell you the truth, Dave, I was looking for this towards the total, 10.5 towards the over. Both of these two pitchers have kind of struggled. Weaver last year was awful, and Marquez 6 walks in his first outing this year in only 4 innings. I don't know. I just see some trouble here from the starting pitching, plus the fact we get it in Colorado. The only thing I will say is it's 10 miles an hour in from center, talking about the wind. So I kind of stayed off of it, but looking towards the over here, Dave, interested in your opinion.
Well, I guess we're going to have no consensus here because I kind of lean to the Rockies. I'm not going to put a whole lot into the first start for Marquez. I think he's declined a little bit from where he was a couple of years ago, and that's a problem for the Rockies if he's going to be their number one starter. But I won't put too much into the first outing. It was the first outing. He was up against a really good lineup, and he had a bad game. Luke Weaver is an interesting guy because he's got good stuff, and he's the type of guy who will tease you because there are times when he goes out there and he absolutely dominates. The problem is he just doesn't have consistent command, and when he gets in trouble, he gets in big trouble. He's one of those guys who's prone to big innings, and that's a bad recipe in Colorado because this is a ballpark where if you get in trouble, you can get into crooked number country real quickly. I just don't have much faith in him. With the number being where it is now, I didn't put this on my card, but with the number being as low as it is now, I think the market has just pushed this one to the point where the value in this game is now on the Rockies side. I mean, that's a cheap price for the Rockies. Again, I don't want to play full games where I can, so even minus 120 or minus 125, I'm not all that enthused. The first half line is higher because Marquez is rated better than Weaver. I'll call it a lean of the Rockies, but I've got a short card today anyway. The one best bet for the $2, and the other one's underway already. So this won't be a play for me, but for the purposes of the show, I'll say I like the Rockies.
All right, guys, good stuff. 2 more games, then the best bet. Reminder here, we got the coupon code still active here. First pitch, $200 off MLB full season packages at Sports Memo and WagerTalk.com. Dave Koken, Steve Merrill, great choices there for MLB full season, and you can take $200 off each of their full season packages using the coupon code First Pitch 200. Next game up, staying out west here, an interleague matchup, Dave. We got the LA Dodgers and the Oakland Athletics. Kershaw versus Bassett. Kershaw, of course, coming from the left side, Bassett from the right side. Seeing the Dodgers a minus 185 openers. We've actually seen it tick down now. Looking at the Wager Talk odds screen, as low as minus 160 right now on the Dodgers. Looks like the total sitting at 8 or 8.5, depending where we're shopping. Where are you looking to go tonight, NL West here, Dave Koken?
Well, not on Oakland, the way they're playing. I mean, they're up to just a terrible start. They're not hitting. They're not pitching. They're not doing anything right. And the Dodgers are the Dodgers. Now, I will say this. I think at the price, you can make an argument that the value here is on the Oakland side. I mean, Bassett didn't have a good first game, but he really pitched well last year for the A's, and I don't know if there's anything in particular that suggests it was a fluke. We'll find out. His first outing wasn't great, but you're not going to draw too much off one start. And Kershaw's first outing wasn't great either, but it was at Coors, and well, we know what happens at Coors. So I think the Dodgers have to clearly be the favorite here, but it's in a price range now where, to me, you're asking for trouble laying this kind of a price with the Dodgers. I'm not a fan of runs lines. I know some people do really well with them. I am not one of them as a rule, so I have a tendency to stay away from them. They look like they're easy, and then they're often not. So I'll call it Dodgers, but not for real money. This would be for monopoly money only.
All right, and Steve, what are you looking to do tonight in the interleague matchup out west?
Yeah, I would lean Dodgers here. I mean, I'm not going to try to guess when the A's are going to start playing better. And it's really not a surprise that it carried over from last year. Keep in mind, they finished ahead of the Astros, yet lost to them pretty badly in the playoff series. And then they had to play them out of the gate here to start the regular season and did not show up as well for those games. I mean, they're now 0-5 on the season. Yes, it's been a tough start. They had to play Houston 4 straight, and then they catch the Dodgers, who beat them, by the way, 10-3 last night. Oakland's gone over, by the way, all 5 games so far, and all 5 totals were higher than tonight. So that's just a side note. But I would lean towards the Dodgers on the side. Speaking of run lines, I'm more comfortable laying it on the road, first of all, because you don't have to worry about that bottom of the ninth one-run walk-off win that can happen with the home team. And I'm even more comfortable with a good offensive team like L.A., who can win by margins. So that's what you want to look for when playing run lines. And I think the Dodgers are a textbook example of that. And boy, did it work last year, Drew. And Dave will remember me bringing this up a lot on the show last year. Dodgers last year, 13 of their first 14 wins to start the season were by 2 runs or more, or they just lost outright. So basically, the run line never came into play. Overall, I went back and looked. All 60 games last year, the Dodgers won 43 of them, 34 by 2 runs or more, and they lost 17. So only 7 times in their 60 games last year did they win by exactly 1 run. And instead of laying minus 170, we're getting minus 105 pick 'em. So yes, Oakland should start playing better, and I agree there's probably not a lot of value with the Dodgers at any point this year. You're going to pay a premium. But once again, with baseball, if you pick the winner, you get the cash. I'm not going to lay 170, though. I'd rather lay minus 105 with a team that normally wins by margin or they lose outright. So I think that makes a lot of sense here in this game, especially with Oakland off to that 0-5 sluggish start.
Yeah, good point with the total as well there, Steve. I mean, the Dodgers were number 1 lineup against righties, whereas Oakland, number 8 lineup in all of MLB versus lefties. Of course, that's the handedness of the pitchers they'll be facing tonight. So maybe look towards this over as well. We got the Chicago White Sox and the Seattle Mariners up, guys. Next game up, last game we'll break down the 4 best bets here. This is 10-10 Eastern, 7-10 Pacific first pitch here. Looks like 56 degrees with light wind. White Sox going with Lucas Giolito. Seattle Mariners going with James Paxton here. We're seeing the Sox as minus 140, minus 145 favorites here, Steve. Looks like a total of 7.5. Low total game, Pacific Northwest here. You interested in getting involved with the White Sox and Mariners tonight, Steve?
Well, I wasn't involved last night in this game, but I was surprised to see the White Sox go out easily and win 6-0 because it wasn't a great scheduling setup for them. They're coming off the Sunday night ESPN primetime game against Anaheim and then having to travel with no rest. And that 7-4 loss was a little misleading. They only had 5 hits against Ohtani, only had 1 hit, and they had a terrible inning there where they left him in way too long, probably because they wanted to keep him in the offensive hitting lineup, I guess, but should have pulled him 2 or 3 hitters sooner. And then he gets a third out strikeout that the catcher drops, overthrows first. A couple guys score. He gets injured on the slide at home. It was just a mess, and it made it a 4-3 game. But then the Angels rallied to end up winning 7-4. So I really thought last night could be a hangover spot for the White Sox after that back-and-forth battle on Sunday night. So the fact that they came out and won 6-0, I think is probably a good sign tonight. Mariners only had 3 hits last night. They've only had more than 6 hits in 1 game all season. So I do think Chicago holds the offensive edge in this game. Mariners might have the better bullpen overall. Starting pitcher, obviously the line set heavy on that, yet the Mariners are a home dog with Paxton. So I think a lot of things point to the White Sox to get back to 500 tonight, despite being just 2-3 on the season.
All right, Dave, do you agree with Steve? White Sox maybe being the side tonight?
Well, I don't want the other team because the White Sox against lefties, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Even, Jimenez is out for the year, basically. And Tim Anderson, who's so important, particularly against lefties, he's out. Okay, we'll go out and beat up whoever. And they're facing another lefty tonight. Now it's Paxton, who I think is going to do well back in Seattle. I'm not sure he was made for the bright lights of New York City. Of course, he had health issues. I think he's going to be okay for the Mariners, but he's facing a very good lineup here. Lucas Giolito is a legit Cy Young candidate for the White Sox. He's that good. The ball's really tough to pick up out of his hand. He throws it hard. He's got great location. This guy, he was dynamite last year, and I think he's just moving into his prime years. He's a guy there's a good chance I won't fade all season. So for me, it's White Sox or nothing. You can look at the total, the first half total, and the game is 4. I'm actually seeing a little 3.5. Tough to play under on those, but Seattle can't hit. So good luck to them against the offerings of Giolito. And I think Paxton might be okay. So I guess I'd lean White Sox and lean under in this matchup. Under first 5.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Dave. I see it going that way too. It's just a little tough with the injuries like you talked about on that Sox side. So, guys, we got best bets coming up. But first, little video here for Asian baseball, actually Japanese baseball from Tokyo Brandon on WagerTalk.com. And, guys, just a little background about him. He actually lives in Japan. It was a scout, was really into kind of the league overall. And knows it very well, has been very good picking winners here. So watch a little clip. We got a little special. We're looking to do this going forward with Asian League baseball bettors. So check it out, guys.
What's up, baseball bettors? This is Tokyo Brandon with Wager Talk, and I'm here to give you a Japanese baseball quick pick for tonight. The Rakuten Eagles are visiting the Seibu Lions. We have 2 starting pitchers that struggled against the other team in 2020. We have 1 terrible bullpen, and we have 2 pretty potent lineups. We're going to take the over 8 or over 8.5 in the Rakuten Eagles Seibu Lions game that starts tonight. Good luck with your bets. Let's win it. Thanks.
Thanks to Tokyo Brandon for that. So you guys wanting some action late at night, you just got it there. And check them out at WagerTalk.com. But guys, we got best bets for the show coming up right now, starting with Dave Koch. And also a reminder here, guys, check them out at WagerTalk.com, the $2 handicapper each and every Tuesday. It's the hottest handicapper's top play, discounted to just $2. That's Dave Koch at WagerTalk.com. Great MLB handicapper for multi-years. And this season off to a good start as well. So check them out there, WagerTalk.com. But Dave, for the show, what do you got today for best bets, buddy?
Also mentioned that there's a special up for the rest of 2021 that costs you about $4 a day. So you can get all my plays for the rest of the year. And, don't forget college football still to come, where I'm number 1 all time at Wager Talk. Baseball, the numbers speak for themselves. So it's a pretty good deal. I want to look it over and take advantage. Best bet for the show. Again, this is not a play for me, so bear that in mind. Don't yell at me if it doesn't get there. But I think at the price now, I think the Rockies are worth a play in terms of value at minus 120 or minus 125. I don't think they're a good baseball team, but I do give them an edge against Luke Weaver of the Diamondbacks. So we'll take the Rockies and Marquez for the show best bet.
All right, Dave. And we got Steve Merrill up next. Check him out, WagerTalk.com. And the coupon code FIRSTPITCH200 takes $200 off of his MLB full season as well. But, Steve, where are you going to best bets for tonight, man?
Yeah, Drew, I'd like to start the seasons hot and play with the house money all year. And that's what we did in college hoops with that 17-4 start right out of the gate. 3-1, 75% start out of the gate here in Major League Baseball. So let's hope maybe it's repeating itself with another sport here. So I do highly recommend taking advantage of that $200 discount. Get on board now. Baseball, the biggest moneymaker for Dave and myself, because there's just so many games. I mean, there's just more value, more betting opportunities than any other sport, really all the other sports combined. Do have 2 best bets tonight at WagerTalk.com, NBA and MLB, a 2-for-1 special. I'm going to go back to a game we talked about, and I'm not going to try to guess when the Oakland A's start playing better, and I sure don't mind playing against them with the best team in the league, the defending World Series champ, the LA Dodgers. Now, of course, we just need to win the game. We could lay $1.70, but I take a long-term investment approach, and I think the more responsible play for those of you that are doing likewise is to play the run line at minus 1.5, minus 105, a basic pick-em price now, especially since the Dodgers, as I mentioned earlier, They win by margin or they lose outright. Only 7 times out of 60 games last year did they win by exactly 1 run. They won 34 of the 43 wins by 2 runs or more, or they lost outright otherwise. And I think that makes a lot of sense. They're a good offensive team. They can extend the lead. They can score runs. And they're on the road tonight. So once again, we don't have to worry about that home team winning by exactly 1 run in the bottom of the ninth. So LA Dodgers -1.5, -105. And one little added nugget that I did not mention in the earlier analysis, Kershaw, the Dodgers only lost this season when he was on the mound opening day at Colorado. He got lit up 5 runs in 5 innings. You could say, well, maybe he's aging now. Maybe he's past the prime. Look at last year, guys. 2.16 ERA and a 0.84 whip in the regular season in 10 starts. So he did not lose it last year, and I think that was just a one-off bad outing in the altitude. So I look for a bounce back with Kershaw and the better team here. LA Dodgers -1.5 run line, the best way to play it tonight.
All right, he's Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. And guys, we do have the, at least first for this year, that's what makes the market, because it's going to happen from time to time. Steve, a good handicapper in itself. And I respect the profile of the bet, going with the run line, with the away team, the Dodgers, as many times as they've won by margin. I just feel that there is value here on the Oakland A's, so my best bet is the Oakland A's +155. We get Bassett on the hill. It's his second start of the year. I know he let up some runs in his first start, but actually when you look at the whip, how he did pitch, I thought it was pretty decent here. Coming back again at home, pitcher's ballpark, going up against the Dodgers, it's just buy high on the Dodgers in pretty much all facets, in my opinion. One, it's the defending World Series champions here with Kershaw on the hill, and you can look at it as he did pitch decently according to his numbers last year. I just look at that velocity, guys. It's been coming down in recent years. Last time out, his velocity wasn't there. He got hit around. Granted, it was in Coors Field, but overall, I think the Oakland A's at +155, having to risk 100. And if you win here with the A's, like I'm trying to do, we get 155 back on the kickback. And the Oakland A's #8 lineup against lefties last season, I think that they will have some success against Kershaw and cash the big underdog here. So in recap, guys, I got the Oakland A's +155, Dave Koken, Rockies -130, Steve Merrill, Dodgers -1.5, -110. And then also Tokyo Brandon there, Golden Eagles Lions /8 for some late night action in the Asian League Baseball. So for Dave Koken, Steve Merrill, I am Drew Martin. Guys, please smash the like button on your way out. If you're watching on replay, that works as well. Feel free to leave a comment below. And best of luck with your bets, and thanks for tuning in, guys.
Okay. Good luck tonight, everybody.